I broke over 200 addictions using these 17 steps that I'm about to explain to you. And I know that for a fact because in my community, I have over 135 members. And most of the time, when someone is addicted to something, they're always addicted to other things. It's not just one thing. It's usually junk food and maybe social media and maybe smoking or weed, maybe. There's always a combination of addictions. And these are battle tested, these are watertight, they just work like a horse. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly what each step is so that you can implement them yourself. And if you want help with them, then you can join my free to school community. You can find the link in the description or in the pinned comment. So let's start with step number one. Be safe. You need to be in a safe environment. For you to be able to follow the rest of the 16 steps or the 17 steps, the first step is for you to do all these in a safe environment. And when I feel safe, I mean in a place where there's no danger, there's no perceived danger for you. And when I say danger, it doesn't have to be like something really bad. It can be from people in your family that you might think that they done so many bad things to you unconsciously, like they were very angry at you all the time, or maybe they traumatized you, which we're going to talk about. Any person or any place that you don't actually like feel safe, and you don't feel safe like closing your eyes and breathing normally, then you need to get out of there and you need to find a place where you feel safe so that every time you need to follow these steps, you need to be in that place. Okay, that's step one. Done. Step two, you need to build motivation. The path and the process to being clean from addictions can be very long, and it depends on you. If you use your addictive behavior or substance, let's say once a week, then it's going to take you maybe a month or maybe 2 months, and you will completely break your addiction. But if you're using your addiction maybe like 2 times a day, 3 times a day, then it's going to take multiple months. And because it's going to take a lot of time and it's going to be difficult sometimes, you need to build the motivation so that you can remind yourself of why you want to do it in the first place. And this is the why. Now, quickly to clear things off, there's a difference between bad habits and addictions. And there's a misunderstanding in the internet space in regards to the difference between addiction and bad habits. So let me clear this for you. An addiction is any behavior, anything that you do, anything that you eat, anything that you smell, God forbid, anything that you smoke, anything you do that brings you short-term pleasure or relief, but have negative consequences in the long term, and you have the inability to give it up, despite the negative consequences in the long term. If you do anything that follows these 3 things, then it's an addiction. It's not a bad habit. Okay, I want to clear things up. So how do you build the motivation? Well, you need to ask yourself, where did you even click on this video? I mean, 99% of the time you do have an addiction. If you don't have an addiction, you would have not clicked on this video. So you have the addiction. Why do you want to quit it? You're going to write it down. Don't just think about it and then forget about it 5 minutes later. No, actually write it down. Keep it on a piece of paper. Keep it in your pocket, in your wallet, so that every time you don't feel like following this process, you can pull up that paper and read it out again, so that you can remind yourself of the why you're going through all that struggle. Okay? So, done. Step 3, find the addiction loop. When I say loop, I mean there's always a specific place, a specific time, a specific mood you would be in for that addictive behavior to appear. For example, late in the night, or maybe first thing in the morning, or maybe after lunch, or maybe after an argument, or maybe when you come back from school or uni, or when you finish work, or maybe at the end of the week. You need to become conscious of yourself, of when you're currently relapsing. What time, what place, with who, if you're doing it with someone else, with who. You need to find that loop. And this loop is extremely important because everything else that I'm about to explain to you is going to be built on the loop. So you need to understand where, when, with who, and after what. This one is very important. After what? After a stressful week of work, after an argument, after being lonely and bored, after something else, you need to find that. Four things. So again, when, where, with who, after what. Okay? Find that loop, write it down. Good. Done. Step number 4, find the root of the addiction. So you don't do the addiction just because it's fun or it's bringing you dopamine. No, that's not true. And I'm going to talk about the truth in addiction in one of those steps, step 9. But for now, what you need to do when it comes to finding the root cause is the following. And you might need to do this with me right now, or you might need to write it down with me so that you can go through this process at your own time. The first thing that you need to ask yourself is, what is the good emotion that your addiction is bringing to you? What does it bring to you? Does it bring you escape, relief, validation, something else? What does it bring to you? You gotta find that good emotion that you're getting, that you're craving from this addiction. That's the first step. The second step is, now ask yourself, what is the bad emotion that this good emotion is soothing for me? So if the good emotion is, for example, escape, well, what are you escaping from? Stress. Most of the time is going to be stress, or maybe shame, or maybe something else. You gotta write it down. Now you may say that sometimes I feel stressed, sometimes I feel ashamed, sometimes this. What is the most common one? What is the most common one? What is the most common good emotion that you're craving? And what is the most common bad emotion that you're craving? Or bad emotion that you're suffering from or experiencing? That's how you can find the root cause. So now we need to look at it in an objective view and ask ourselves, well, the question is not why the addiction, but why the mental pain that you have? Why do you have the stress? A lot of stress that makes your brain wants to reach out to an external stimuli for it to soothe itself. Why do you have the shame? What are you ashamed of? But that's just the surface level. Now we need to dig even deeper. And this is when we need to understand trauma. Because the reason you have this bad emotion, let's say stress, okay? Because a lot of people won't really get convinced by connecting trauma to their addiction. Let's say that you're feeling stressed. Why? Because I'm working a lot in my business, and at the end of the week I feel very stressed and I want to go out and drink. Okay. Why are you working so hard on your business? Because I want to be financially free, because I want to be my own boss. I want to this and that. I want to be able to buy my own car, etc. Why? What's wrong with a 9 to 5? What's wrong with it? Well, I want to be my own boss. I want to be in control. Why? What happened? Tell me about your childhood. What happened in the past that made you want to become your own boss? You're not born that way. No one is. Everyone, when they're born, they're like a blank slate. They're empty. An event or multiple events in your childhood happened that formed these beliefs in you that I want to be my own boss, or I want to achieve financial freedom, or I want to prove them wrong, or whatever your beliefs are. Okay? So let's talk about trauma in more details. So, what is trauma? It's very misunderstood, trauma, and I'm not gonna explain everything about it because this can be like a 3-hour video. But there are 4 types of trauma. Okay? The trauma does not only come from war or pandemic or like someone passes away or someone goes to jail. These are big traumas. There are small traumas. Small traumas can be your parents not giving you the attention that you needed when you were a child. Maybe both of your parents were very, very busy, each having their own job, and they didn't give you enough attention and enough attachment, which also we're going to talk about, when you were a child. This is a small trauma. Small traumas can be more dangerous than big trauma. Here's why. Because the other types, so big and small, the other 2 types of trauma are simple trauma and complex trauma. Big traumas, most likely, there are simple traumas. What is the difference? Simple trauma is like an event that happens once and that's it. So a war, maybe, like although a war can last for multiple years, or maybe let's say a car accident. A car accident can be just one event, maybe once every maybe God knows how many years. But this is like a big trauma, but it's a simple one because it's just one event. Complex trauma is an event, regardless of it was small or big, but this event kept happening and happening and happening and happening. When it comes to big traumas, most of the time, this big trauma does not keep happening. It just happened once, so it's a simple trauma. But when it comes to the small traumas, they keep happening in your childhood. And if the small trauma, for example, your parents not giving you enough attention, or you being bullied in school, it keeps happening and happening. It's a small trauma. It's not dangerous, but if it kept happening, it's going to build up to become a complex trauma, and this will dictate your entire life. This complex trauma will dictate every single decision and thought of your life until you become conscious of it. This is trauma. Now, there's the 4 F's. I'm going to be very brief here. So the way someone forms trauma or becomes traumatized is when they are faced with a very, very stressful situation. And when a human being faces a very stressful situation, their nervous system, they either goes to fight or flight. So I'm gonna fight to delete this stress from me, or I'm gonna run away. Now, when you are a child, you can't fight, you can't flight. So your brain either goes to freeze mode or to fawning. These are the 4 F's. Freezing is basically your brain tunes out from reality and like it joins like an imaginary reality just to escape the stressful reality. And it does that for maybe a few seconds, maybe a few minutes. The fawning is basically you become a people pleaser when you are a child, and this stays with you in adulthood. So, for example, let's say that your parents are very, very stressed, and this is giving you a lot of stress and trauma. Let's say that your brain decided to go to fawning. So what fawning would do is it will make you believe that you are the reason your parents are stressed. So you will become a people pleaser, you become a perfectionist, you will become getting higher and higher grades in your school just to please your parents so that you can decrease the levels of attachment, decrease the level of stress that they have. This is your brain unconsciously doing all of that. You're not even aware of it. So regardless of what response, they create trauma, either fawning or freezing. When it comes to fight or flight, you face a stressful situation, you fight it or run away from it, and it disappears, and that's it. It doesn't create trauma. But when it comes to freezing or fawning, especially in childhood, while your brain is developing, that's where the problem happens. That's trauma. All right. Number 6 is understanding attachment. This is extremely, extremely important. So there are 2 basic human needs, which we are also going to talk about in the 4 A's, in the 5 A's. But there are 2 basic human needs that every single human needs: attachment and authenticity. Authenticity is basically you having the ability to listen to your own gut, your gut feeling. If you need to go to some place and your gut feeling is telling you don't go there, that's your gut feeling. That's authenticity. Attachment is basically we as human beings, we need other humans to stay alive, especially when we're young. We're very weak, we're helpless, and we need the care of other human beings. And attachment is basically people being around you, they're caring for you, they look you in the eyes, they talk to you, they're empathetic, they're sympathetic, they're compassionate towards you. This is attachment. And when you experience attachment, your brain releases the chemical of oxytocin, which we are also going to talk about somewhere here. But for now, let's talk about attachment. 99.9% of the time, the effect of the trauma was the lack of attachment. Unless you were in like a war zone, or you had a very horrible, multiple accidents in a short period of time, if your parents were very busy and they didn't give you the attention and the attachment that you needed as a child, then that's a lack of attachment. And this can create a trauma of, especially can create the belief of I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving. If you genuinely ask yourself, do you have these two beliefs? Most likely, yes. I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving, nothing I do can work perfectly, I can't do something big, I can't achieve something that is huge and like enormous or like something amazing. These are limiting beliefs, and these beliefs were created as a coping and a survival mechanism in your childhood so that it can get attachment from your parents. Okay? So the 99.9% of the time, the root cause behind the trauma that you probably have that was created from your childhood is attachment. And this is extremely important. Like if you need to take one thing from this video, it's going to be this: attachment, lack of attachment. Okay, we're going to talk more about attachment in the next steps. So, number 7, find your faulty beliefs. Quickly to explain to you psychologically how trauma forms in the brain in a psychological perspective, because we can talk about the physiology and the neurology, but for now let's focus on the psychology. When you get traumatized, you form new beliefs about yourself, new self-image based beliefs. Self-image beliefs that can be, I am not good enough, I am not deserving, I am this, I am that. These are self-image beliefs. And a paradigm is the lens that you see the world through, and you have millions of paradigms. A paradigm is basically a collection of beliefs. And these collection of beliefs, they create a lens, okay? And again, you have millions of lenses. When you get traumatized, you form these faulty beliefs around yourself. And these faulty beliefs creates what I call the trauma paradigm, okay? So in order for you to heal from trauma, which is the root cause behind any addiction, you need to break your trauma paradigm. And for you to do that, you need to find the faulty beliefs that this trauma paradigm is built with, or is built of. The trauma paradigm is built of faulty beliefs. You need to find those faulty beliefs, become conscious of them, so that you can break them. But we're not going to talk about breaking them right now. What we're going to talk about is that you need to write it down. You need to spend a whole day, multiple days. Every time you remember something, or something happens and it triggers something in you, ask yourself, what does that mean about me? What does that mean about me? If someone tells you that you haven't done a good job, and if you feel stressed from them saying that to you, ask yourself, what does that mean about me? And this is going to reveal the self-image based beliefs that you have. And you need to write it down. You need to become conscious of them so that every time they get triggered, you can catch those. And then you can say to yourself, this belief that is being triggered right now is not correct, it's not true. And this is part of the healing process. So, finding the faulty beliefs, done. Let's continue. Number 8, which is fix addiction neural pathways. This is where we need to talk a little bit about neurology, and don't worry, it's not going to be complicated. What you need to understand is when you started learning how to ride a bicycle, at the beginning it was difficult, but then it became easier and easier and easier, and now you can ride it unconsciously. The reason this process happened, is because when you start riding that bicycle, new neural pathways in your brain started forming for this specific action, okay? And the more you do it, the thicker and the stronger these neural pathways become, okay? And when they become very strong and very thick, you can ride your bicycle very easily. The same goes for an addiction. The more you feel the bad emotion, your brain craves the good emotion, which we talked about in the addiction loop. The more you feel the bad emotion, your brain craves the good emotion, and then your brain reaches out for the addiction to soothe that bad emotion and to get that good emotion. The more you do this process, the thicker and the stronger the neural pathway for the addiction is forming. Okay? And the more you do it, the harder for you to stop yourself from doing it because it's becoming more and more automatic. And if you've been doing your addiction for, let's say, 5, 10 years, from the moment of urge to relapse, it's almost non-existent. Like from feeling the urge to relapsing, it's almost non-existent. And the reason it's non-existent is because you've been doing it so many times, it's becoming unconscious. So we need to fix that. Well, the word fix is very simplistic. We need to underdevelop these neural pathways. How? The more you become conscious of them at action, the more you can resist them working. And the more you resist them doing their action, the less neurons will go through the neural pathway. And the less neurons, the smaller these neural pathways will become because there's like, it doesn't like build up and it's just there. Like it either increases or decreases. It's like business. Like you can't have a stable business. It's either growing or dying. The same thing for your neural pathways. If there's neurons going through the neural pathway, then it's growing, it's getting stronger. And if there's no neurons going through this neural pathway, it's going to get weaker until it dies. The same thing for your neural pathway for the addiction. The less you do your addiction, or at least the more you resist it, the less neural pathways will go through it, the more likely you are to underdevelop this neural pathway. And the secret to this is for you to find your faulty beliefs and becoming conscious of them because they are the reason you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or bored or lonely or any bad emotion that the addiction is soothing. They are the reason. Okay? So once you become conscious of these in action, you are decreasing the amount of neurons going through the addiction neural pathways. And the more you resist and the more you become aware of it, the less neurons will go through the neural pathway. And the weaker it will become, the more conscious you will be of the urge relapse process. Okay? That's it. Number 9, know the truth about addiction. I can talk for hours about this because, unfortunately, most people who talk about addiction are wrong. Addiction is never a choice. Addiction is never in the genes, ever, ever, ever in the genes. If your father is an alcoholic and you're an alcoholic, it's not because of the genes, it's because of the trauma. Trauma is generational and you inherit it psychologically, not genetically, psychologically inherited because the way your father was treated by his father created a trauma. And he's treating you the same way his father treated him, and this is creating the trauma. Again, psychologic. And until someone becomes conscious of their unconscious and break this chain, the trauma is going to keep going to the next generations, unfortunately. So, this is a few things about the truth about addiction. It's never a choice, it's not in the genes, and always there's a root cause behind it, which is most likely it's trauma. Another one, which might sound controversial, no substance, no behavior is addictive by itself. Cocaine is not addictive. Yes, that's true. Heroin is not addictive. Social media is not addictive. Porn is not addictive. Junk food is not addictive. Sugar is not addictive. They're not. And I don't care. You may say that, oh, but they're like for smoking, there's the nicotine. It's not by itself addictive. You have to be susceptible to it. What does that mean? It means that if this substance or behavior is bringing you a relief for a specific bad emotion that you currently have, and if this substance or behavior is soothing that bad emotion, then you become addicted to it. Again, remember my definition of addiction. Short-term relief or pleasure, long-term consequences, inability to give up despite the negative consequences. If this behavior or substance is bringing you relief in the short term, then it's helping you with something. And the problem is it's not saturating, that's why you keep coming back to it, but it's helping you with something. That's why you became addicted to it. A lot of people ate junk food, but most are not addicted to it. A lot of people drank alcohol, but most of them are not alcoholics. I smoked cigarettes and I became addicted to it for 5 years, but I've been clean for 7 years. And now I can't even, like the smell of cigarettes is disgusting to me. Well, we could talk more about that. For me, it's personal, but this is not the part of the video. So this is the truth about the addiction. Now, you may not like really get convinced by this. Believe me when I tell you, and I studied this thoroughly, these substances or behaviors are not addictive by itself. You need to be susceptible to them. How? You need to have a lot of stress or a lot of bad emotion that this substance or behavior can soothe for you. And if it did, you become addicted to it. Let me give you one last thing about this point. A lot of people who used to smoke cigarettes, they were able to quit without solving the root cause. Guess what happens? They become addicted to something else. Most of them, they become addicted to food. They become fat. They keep eating sugar. They develop diabetes, etc. Because they didn't solve the root cause. This is for most people who smoke cigarettes. So these are a few things about the truth about addiction. Number 10, you need to build a graph. This is extremely important because we as humans, we differ from one person to another, but most of us, like, we are visual learners. And if you're a visual learner, this is very, very helpful for you. But I want you to, I want everyone to do this. I want everyone to build a graph. Everything that I explained to you so far, when it comes to addictions, you need to connect it to yourself. How? You write down, or you can use Miro. I use Miro, but you can use any software. Or you can do it on a piece of paper. Because we're gonna draw a graph, okay? And this graph is going to explain exactly why you have this addiction. So you start at the top, you start with the addiction. You write it down, whatever it is. And then you ask yourself, what is the good emotion? The most common good emotion that I'm craving. You write it down. And then the bad emotion. And then why you're feeling this bad emotion? Because business is bringing me a lot of stress, or maybe this, or maybe that. Why? And you keep asking yourself why until you find the root cause, which is the trauma. And then once you find the trauma, you need to draw or write down the faulty beliefs that you found here. Where are they? Write it down. And this is the root cause. You need to build a graph. And it doesn't have to be linear. It can be linear, and also it has other roots that goes back into the limiting beliefs. And if you want me to show you examples of past clients that I built this graph for them, then let me know in the comment section. It's a masterpiece. But you need to create this graph so that you can tie it back into the root cause, which is the faulty beliefs that you have that are being triggered, that are bringing you those bad emotions, that now you're craving the good emotions to soothe them, so you reached for your addiction. And the reason you do this is because of your addiction neural pathway. All right, that's for building the graph. Number 11, develop the 5 brain circuits. This video is getting long. I wasn't planning on it being long, but the 5 brain circuits. So in your brain, you have plenty of circuits, okay? But there's 5 main brain circuits that they are very, very important when it comes to breaking your addiction. The dopamine circuit, and the endorphin circuit, the oxytocin circuit, attachment, the adrenaline circuit, and the impulse control circuit, okay? Again, I can talk for hours about these 5 circuits, but what you need to understand is, thanks to neural plasticity, these brain circuits can underdevelop and they can develop, no matter what age you are. And naturally, they want to develop completely. But the problem with being addicted to something is that it's stopping or even dysregulating, underdeveloping these brain circuits when you're addicted to something. So what we need to do is that we need to start developing these 5 brain circuits. How? With following everything that I've mentioned to you. The less you do your addictive behavior, the more these brain circuits will develop. And with time, they can develop completely. And when they develop completely, guess what? You will never need any addictive behavior or substance ever again. You know why? Because as I said, 99.9% of the time, the root cause behind the trauma is attachment. Once you feel the trauma, healing the trauma is basically bringing yourself attachment. We're going to talk more about healing here. But once you're able to give yourself attachment, You still need other people to give you attachment. But once you're able, like once you have your brain circuits developed correctly, oxytocin, that is responsible for attachment, then you have self-regulation. When you feel stressed, you can self-regulate yourself. You don't need an external thing. This ties to number 12, which is understanding the circuit's chemicals. So let's start with dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation. Everybody have it, that's it. Endorphin is the chemical of pain relief, physical and mental pain relief. And guess what? When you're very stressed, your brain is craving endorphins because it wants to relieve this mental pain. And your addiction is allowing your brain to release this chemical of endorphins. And there are indigenous opioids, by the way. But that's a story for another thing. The video is long enough. So that's endorphin. So dopamine, endorphins, adrenaline. Adrenaline is the stress chemical, or the stress hormone, sorry. When you feel stressed, your brain releases adrenaline. Okay? That's what you need to understand. And oxytocin, we talked about that for attachment. And finally, impulse control. It is extremely normal for you to have an impulse to do something, but it's not normal for you to not control it. The more you do the addiction, the less development or more dysregulated your impulse control, specifically your impulse control circuit will become dysregulated. Okay, let me rephrase that. The more you do your addiction, the more you do your addiction, the more dysregulated your impulse control circuit will become. And the more you do addiction, the more dysregulated and the harder for you to control your impulses. Okay? So the more you become aware of your trauma, you heal it, you more become aware of your faulty beliefs and you catch those and you're weakening your addiction neural pathway, the more of these 5 brain cycles are being developed. Okay? Right. Number 13, replace the addiction with a healthy habit. Most self-improvement YouTubers, they're not even aware of these 12 steps, and they just go with step number 13, which is telling you, oh, just do something better than that. Do something that doesn't have long-term consequences. It shows you that most people there have no idea what they're talking about. So when it comes to replacing your addiction with a healthy habit, it's impossible before you do these 12 steps before it. You have to do them first. And when you do them, you know exactly what you're craving. You will understand that you're not really craving cigarettes or alcohol or whatever. You're craving something deeper. Most of the time, it's attachment. So when it comes to replacing the addiction with a healthy habit, now you need to ask yourself, based on my research about myself, what do I really need? What did the trauma deprive me from? What do I really need? And once you find that, now you can easily start searching for things that you can do that can satiate this void that you have. And these things that you can do, most likely they don't have negative consequences in the long term. But you have to go through all of that in order for you to know how to do this correctly. Now, this is not enough. As you can see, we still have steps here. This is not enough because this is temporary. This is like a Band-Aid. Having it like replacing the addiction with a good habit, this is like a Band-Aid. It's not enough. It's just temporary because we still need to heal your trauma, the root cause. Once we heal your trauma, you won't need the addiction, you won't need the good habit, you won't need anything anymore. So this is temporary. Okay, but because the whole process of breaking your addiction, because it takes a long time, you need to do that. All right, number 14, we're almost done. Break your bad habits. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's a difference between bad habits and addictions. Bad habits can be biting your nails. It can be, by the way, I don't bite my nails. Biting your nails, not sleeping at the same time and waking up at the same time, not making your bed, not being clean, not working out, not having an organized schedule, for example. All these are bad habits. And you need to start picking one at a time and start fixing those. Okay, picking one at a time, fixing those. This is massive. It's massive. The thing is, with start breaking your bad habits, it's making you a new person. It's building new beliefs that you are able to do it. You're becoming a new person. You're improving, and also it's starting to weaken those bad beliefs that you have around yourself, like I'm not good enough, and like all that BS. And now, because you're breaking those bad habits, you're breaking with them those faulty beliefs of yours. So you have to pick one at a time. Don't like go with all of them. Pick one at a time and start working on one at a time. Okay? That's for number 14. Number 15 is do prolonged exposure. Without going into details, when it comes to complex trauma, complex PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, one of the treatment solutions for people who have these are prolonged exposure, and we can apply this similar strategy to prolonged exposure with you. So what does that mean, prolonged exposure? Once, because you found the root cause of your addiction, which is the trauma most likely, now you need to ask yourself, is that a person or an event that traumatized you? If it's an event or if it's a person, you need to safely, preferably with someone else who cares for you, who understands a little bit, maybe you can watch this video and understand what I'm talking about, but they need to be safe, they need to care for you. You can be with that person, you can be alone, and you need to slowly expose yourself to that person or to that event. And when I say expose, I mean to start interacting with the person. You start talking to them like very slowly. Well, not when it comes to like you're talking specifically, but like you can start with talking to them maybe once a month, and then maybe once a week, and then every day, slowly. But you need to do it slowly. If it was an event, you need to slowly go through that event again. How? Let's say that you're very scared of the electric escalator in malls, for example. If you're afraid of that, and it scares you to go through, to go to that electric escalator, then you need to start exposing yourself to that thing, and you start actually riding it. And you need to understand that it's normal. There's nothing to fear. And at the beginning, it can be very, very difficult. That's why you need someone to help you with that. But that's PE. Right. Number 16, heal. This is where the meat, this is the meat of the video, healing. The 5 A's. So this is where you can actually heal your trauma. And this is when you would fix the root cause behind the addiction so that you don't have to do any bad habit, any addiction, or any good habit even. So the 5 A's. The first one is attachment. We talked a lot about attachment. We don't need to talk more about it. The second one is authenticity. Again, we talked about authenticity, you having the ability to listen to your gut. You need to build this. If you don't feel like going out with your friends and your friends reach out to you and you say, yes, that's a problem, you need to say no. And at the beginning, you won't be even conscious of it. You would become conscious of it after you say yes, where you wanted to say no. Once you become conscious of that, call them again and tell them, no, listen, guys, I'm very tired. I don't want to go out. You need to start practicing authenticity. The third one is agency. I'm not talking about a marketing agency. I'm talking about you having the freedom of will. When it comes to agency, you need to have the freedom to choose, freedom to do, freedom to act. And that's what I tell a lot of people, which is like entrepreneurship. I believe that entrepreneurship is the best way to live life because it brings you agency. It brings you freedom. At the beginning, yes, you need to work like 14 hours a day, but you're working on something that you love, you care about, and you're passionate about it sometimes. It's better to always work on your passion. And it just gives you the freedom. If you don't have freedom, then that's going to make you miserable. And that's going to be something that would feed into your addictive behavior. So agency. So attachment, authenticity, agency, healthy anger. There's 2 types of anger, healthy and unhealthy. Unhealthy anger is basically like rage. Like something happens and you rage, you start screaming, you start shouting, this is unhealthy. Healthy rage, or healthy anger really, is someone steps on your line, not physically, but like they start like saying bad things about you. They start humiliating you. They cross the line basically, and you stop them. You don't like get very angry, but like you get a little bit angry and you stop them at their course. That's healthy anger. If you have this rage, if you're like a bomb, like like at any second it can explode. This is unhealthy anger, and the root cause behind unhealthy anger is trauma. The fifth and the last A is okay. I might be screwed up here. So attachment, authenticity, agency, healthy anger, acceptance. You need to have acceptance of the events. Now, there's a difference between acceptance and tolerance. If there's something bad is happening to you, this is tolerating. You must stop it and you must leave it. Acceptance is the best example I can give you when it comes to acceptance is you accepting that you now have the trauma. Okay? It's not your fault that you have the trauma, but it's your responsibility to heal it. This is acceptance. You're accepting the events as they are, and you either start working on solving them or you just leave them and forget about them. Okay? So that's the authenticity, agency, healthy anger, acceptance, and attachment. You need to start working on these, and these will heal your trauma in addition to bring yourself more attachment and breaking your faulty beliefs. And the last thing, number 17, gather data and keep a diary. You need to understand that you will relapse. Like let's say that you follow these 16 steps to a T, you will relapse. Because when it comes to breaking your addiction, like it takes a lot of time and you're weakening these neural pathways. At the beginning, they're going to be very, very strong, which will make you relapse. But what you need to understand is to never hate yourself if you relapse. Instead, you would be gathering data. What happened? What good emotion did I create? What bad emotion did I have? Where, when, with who, after what? Remember these 4 questions. And you would add those data to your graph if you need to. And this graph, you need to look at it every single day. This is very important. This graph, you need to look at it every single day to remind yourself of the loop, the addiction loop that we talked about, so that it doesn't become unconscious, it becomes conscious. Okay? So you need to gather data, and also you need to keep a diary. Journaling. This journaling can be very helpful. Just write down, this happened, and I relapsed. This happened, and I feel good about it. Just keep gathering data, keep a diary with you. And with time, I promise you, you will break your addiction. That's what it takes. And I have statistical significance because I broke over 200 addictions. And if you want me to walk you through all of that and do all that for you, then you can join my free community, link in the description. I would love to see you there. And that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.